What's up? What it is? What it do? All my gooblets, goblins, everybody in between. How y'all doing today? Got another one. Coming back with old Elliot Page, and let's see what they got going on.
All right, folks. So obviously, this Page character has been kind of dominating the headlines lately after being cast as a literal Greek warrior in Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. I think it's pretty self-explanatory why that's been dominating headlines. But now,
Yeah, me personally, I don't care that Elliot Page is trans. I just feel like it was a miscasting. I just don't feel like Page fits the role of a Greek warrior. Like, again, it ain't. I don't care. I really don't care that Paige is trans. I just don't think it was the best person to fit that role. Not as a someone who's supposed to be a warrior who died in a fight.
Mrs. Page here hasn't exactly addressed the controversy until now, it appears. Although in typical leftist fashion, not addressing it head on, but rather speaking vaguely, crafting these overarching narratives meant to demonize her opponents. Anybody who disagrees with me, anybody who criticizes me, or the role that I took, or the cultural trend that I clearly now represent, well, these people are just hateful bigots.
The natural world and what we learn in biology class and in terms of it seemingly being this cis heteropatriarchal system is, I don't know, however we'd say that, is, I feel, used against queer and trans people in terms of us being made to seem maladaptive. There's something wrong with us. We're
not real, we're fake.
Or we're some modern thing, which is, of course, we know that's not true. We've been, everywhere forever, I feel like as trans people, we're just constantly being gaslit by people, and it's bad.
Well, but that's any community. Any community gets like that. Black community, white community. Every community has bad apples, right? Because neither one of y'all are out there at Disney doing all y'all stuff, right? Now, at least I would hope not. Not like a certain individual I'm not going to name. But every individual has bad apple. Every community has bad apples. You always got somebody who's louder than everyone else, and they kind of set the tone and the standard for the rest of them. So it is, again, just like I say with any community, you got to fix the internal. So if you don't want people bashing you for living your life, unfortunately, you're going to have to do something about the loud ones who make the rest of y'all look bad. It's the same thing I say about the black community. I'll say about the white community, Asian, everybody. Everybody has a certain group of individuals that makes the rest look bad by comparison. And usually, that group becomes the shining representation of the entire race or the entire community, because people look at that one because they're constantly doing things. So everybody else looks bad by comparison.
It's human beings are the only species that are, ridiculous enough to seem to have a huge problem with trans folks.
Well, that's because we also have sentience. No other species has sentience like we do. They have some form of intelligence, yes, but not to the level that we have, where they can do these things. At best, the smartest animals have the capacity as far as thought and mind of a 5 to 10-year-old. They're not at our level. They're at the capacity of one of our children, not at a full-grown adult.
It's really just fascinating. First, obviously, we have to address the elephant in the room. According to Paige, we're the ones doing the gaslighting as she sits there and gaslights everybody with her cultural commie gobbledygook. We're gaslighting the people by this suggestion that what's going on here with this trans stuff is abnormal. I mean, first of all, not trying to be mean here, not trying to ruffle feathers or insult people, but I would argue that the whole gender dysphoria thing is quite definitionally abnormal. I mean, it's certainly not objectively normal, which I think would automatically categorize it in the opposing definition, just add the AB. I'm also reminded of a book that I read once, a textbook titled Abnormal Psychology. I think
and something to add on to him as far as the gender dysmorphia, sorry. I knew a guy with body dysmorphia, and he always thought he was fat. And yeah, he has some body fat on him, but guy was in good shape. He was over 6 feet tall. He was in decent shape. He had a little bit of a round face, and I think that's what he was basing everything off of, because his face was just round. It wasn't fat. It was just he had a rounded face. He didn't have two chins, anything like that, but he was in good shape. You could not convince him otherwise. You couldn't. He was fat. As far as he's concerned, he saw himself as like 300 pounds. Like he you could not convince him otherwise that he did not look that way. So if people will see that about their own bodies, I believe that people can do that about gender. And you have a lot of people who come back who are now grown up and again fully developed brain from versus they were teenagers where they had this alterations done that could not be reversed and they regret it. And unfortunately, a lot of them end up, self-deleting because of that. And it's a shame that anybody gets to that point where again, it's kind of a lose-lose because it's like you do this and they suffer later after they kind of realize this was a mistake, or you don't do it and they potentially suffer because you didn't do it. There's no winning. All you do is try to go the path that seems like you're gonna lose less, and hopefully get them the help that they need, whereas they're not gonna regret this to the point later that they're gonna take themselves out.
The gaslighting is frankly coming from your side, but then it gets worse. In meeting what I was describing in the intro, this whole idea that actually it's just a bigoted attack. Oh, those people on the right. Actually, let me play this clip from Hassan. This is from one of his most recent streams. I think it kind of feeds into the idea as well.
High school transgender athletes participating in high school competitions. This is not a real issue. This is not an issue that impacts any American in a significant manner. It is.
Oh, you hear that, women? Hassan does not care about you. Because these girls who are out there competing, it impacts them. It does. It impacts them. Scholarships, they don't get the scholarships that they're busting their behinds for because a male to female transitioner is gonna outcompete them. They're gonna have more muscle mass than they are. I don't care what anyone says, especially when you talk about high school. You don't have the same amount of muscle mass as a woman in high school. That stops around puberty. Around puberty, where men the boys start getting a lot of testosterone pumped into them, their muscle mass expands. That's why they get so big, much bigger out of nowhere. It impacts them. So to say it impacts no one means one of two things. One, you don't care about these young ladies who are actually busting their behinds to get in these programs and to compete at an equal level and getting outshined by somebody who couldn't compete on the male side. Or two, you don't consider them women or you don't consider them people and you don't care whatsoever. So my question is, which one is it?
Is a clearly purposefully concocted narrative that was focus tested by the Republicans in an effort to make that the key fixture of American politics. Well, Donald Trump did it. He banned transgender athletes. Did that help you? Do you feel better now? Do you feel like your life has improved in any significant manner?
I mean, again, and I heard people say it before, set up a league, a trans league. I personally don't see an issue with that. I don't. And because you don't hear about the opposite. You don't hear about female to male transitioners dominating in male sports. You don't because it is so low of a number. It is practically not a thing. Like it is so minuscule of a number. You're talking about less than 1%, but all these male to female transitioners are ended up dominating top 10 of their sport because of obvious reasons. They trained as a male, they transitioned, and now they're dominating these women who have been training their whole life to get to that point.
Of course not, because it was always a distraction, a very violent one for the tiny minority of transgender people. It's horrible for them, but it's not good for you.
As if really what's happening is just right-wingers. They don't have real points. There's no discussion to even be had here. No, it's all political, just empty, vapid culture war stuff to win elections, to demonize people. It's pure bigotry for the purpose of bigotry. This is absolute grade A bullshit. And it's, again, the typical leftist tactic. Why actually debate the merit of ideas when you could simply demonize your opponents as just wrong, backwards people who simply can't accept the new norm, can't accept what is so clearly non-controversial. But is it? Is it really? Males dominating female sports? Is that something that you're just supposed to accept? Is that something that we're simply weaponizing to win elections? I don't think so. And frankly, I don't think it has much to do with why Republicans win elections in the first place. I think it's a pretty down the totem pole whole issue, but it certainly is a relevant cultural war issue. But Ellen Page chops it up to, you just have a problem with trans people. No, I don't. Look, I understand, but also, I will not be gaslit by your absolute rhetorical nonsense. Ellen
I mean, yeah, I have to agree with them. Like, for real. Look at it like this. You could have somebody who did not make it in the NBA. Could maybe just wasn't good enough. Like maybe he was, instead of top 10%, he was 11, right? But then he recreates Joanna Man and transitions to being a woman and can play in the WNBA. And now this person is now the top player in the WNBA. And you don't see that at that again. I maybe it's just me. I haven't seen a transition man playing the WNBA. I haven't, and because if it was one, I'm pretty sure that'd be like breaking news. Everybody would be talking about it. So you don't see that at that level whatsoever, because I feel like as an adult they kind of know better at that point.
Page claiming earlier that, Republicans are suggesting that it's a brand new phenomenon, but really, it's as old as humanity gets. First of all, I think this is an academic fallacy, the whole two-spirit stuff and whatnot, but I will grant to a certain extent that, yeah, it is, just like homosexuality is, but to the extent that we've seen it in modern culture, the boom, the cultural push that seems to reward and promote it, not to mention the elephant in the room known as autogynephilia, how internet adult activity, let's call it, clearly is fueling it to some degree. We're going to be gaslit into pretending like none of that is real. And we shouldn't discuss the potential psychological harms that may be having on young people. We shouldn't be discussing or have any issues with the normalization of this very adult style behavior in front of children, the drag queen story hour stuff, the stuff that you see at these parades and
Yeah, that's again something I've never agreed with nor liked, is that why do children have to be involved? You see these small kids coming out saying that they're trans kid, or they're a gay kid, and like, kid, you're barely old enough to talk. it's all put on you by your parents or parent. And it's not a choice of the kid. They're indoctrinated in it. It's almost like some people call the church or cults or anything like that. It's the same thing. You get them when they're young, you get them as kids, you treat all this like normal. They grow up believing it's normal. And if you're on the outside, then you're bad. They did the same thing in cults, and in some cases, even some churches, they do the same thing. Where if you're outside the church, you are a bad person and you should not be talked to or communicated with, or none of that. And then if you have someone who gets older and realizes it and gets out, what do? They chastise the individual. They chastise them. They don't talk about them. They do talk about them, talk bad about them, but they don't talk to them. And in some extreme cases, they go try to hunt them down and bring them back by force. So, I mean, the stories are out there. It happens, but it's the same trend.
everything else that's now become part of normal culture, as you say. We're just supposed to shut up and accept all of that, right? Yeah, who's doing the gaslighting? Seriously, who's doing the freaking gaslighting? Again, typical leftist tactic. Don't engage on any of those ideas. Don't even show up to have a tough conversation. Just paint a freaking boogeyman, speak for the right and their intentions and what they believe, and they're just angry, malicious people with no valid concern and no valid point, and they're just gaslighting everybody else. It's nonsense, especially when you consider for a second that actually, in many cases, what we're seeing from these gender-bending people is quite definitionally gaslighting everybody else, you know? It's, ma'am, I'm a literal woman.
Excuse me, it's ma'am. It is ma'am.
Surprised you didn't use a clip of that other recent one that was hopping up, that literally hopping mad, screaming about it being she.
If you refuse to date me, then there's something wrong with you. If you refuse that I am a very strong, very, very giga-chad Greek warrior in the latest adaptation of the Odyssey by Christopher Nolan, then you're the problem. Yeah, we're the ones gaslighting. And the argument being that, well, humans are the only ones who seem to have an issue with it in the animal kingdom. Hey, my dog doesn't question me about my gender identity. Yeah, I wonder why. Maybe we're the only sentient beings with the ability to critically think and think in
Well, there you go. I said the same thing earlier.
intelligently. Not exactly the argument that you think it is there, Ellen Page. Oh, my apologies, Elliot Page. Really, who's doing the gaslighting? Honestly, I don't think these people should ever use that word again. Your entire existence is a gaslight. And not just from the identity perspective, but also from the ideological perspective. All your defense tactics. My political opponents are indefensible, bigoted, bad people, therefore I've won every single argument. Therefore, I win, you're bad, I'm good, there you go. Freaking dust your hands, game over, conversation's over. You're a bigot who should be deleted off of social media, and I'm a super duper movie star. It's just so stupid. It's obviously reductive. And what's very interesting is that these people, they portray themselves as such deep thinkers, as such intellectuals, but really they're just ideologues. True intellectuals don't run away from challenge and debate. They sit down, they hash out ideas. These people on the left, they adopt this kind of veneer of intellectualism. They don't engage in the actual practice. And as we know, without practice, well, you really aren't worth much.
You see, I'm not going to point out and say people on the left, because I've run into people who do that on both sides, and it irritates the life out of me. I had someone actually say that they tried to use the excuse they had to use the bathroom because they started crying about, like, literal started sniffling and tears started to well up in their eyes because of the conversation that we were having, and then tried to use, well, I have to go to the bathroom so we can stop the conversation. Nah, I'll wait. I'll wait for you to come back. I know you got to come back, so I'll wait. Go ahead and go to the bathroom. I just wait for you. Never got up and moved. Never got up and moved. So I've run to both sides where people do that. And I think, I wouldn't say it's a left or right thing. It's a person thing. And some people have those type of personalities where they make the whole thing emotional instead of actually logical. And if you make it overly emotional, then people are more likely to pity you because, oh, you're making them cry, you're hurting their feelings, whatever the case is. Some people make themselves cry at will. I can't. I cannot do that. I don't know how they do it. But I've seen on both sides.
You could have a 200 IQ, but if you never do the work, well, it's called wasted potential. And one thing's for sure, it's very clear the leftoids never want to do any actual work. No, they just want cultural enforcement of whatever the trend of the day is. And that's probably why their worldview is so lazy and sloppy and poorly thought out and filled with holes like damn Swiss cheese and filled with controversies and paradoxical notions. And I think this little clip was pretty emblematic of that. Anyways, that's what I got. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you.
Yeah, for one of my videos, it's probably going to end up on the short side, but same thing, what you guys think. Question, comments, concerns down there at the bottom as usual. Definitely subscribe. I appreciate all my 31, 32 followers I think I got now. Definitely appreciate you guys. The horde is slowly but surely getting stronger. But as usual, I'll catch you guys later. Deuces.